As the day-to-day struggle continues to gain freedom for a family member who has been in prison since before I was born, getting the truth to be told and raising awareness is very crucial in these times. My cousin's name is Leonard Peltier. He's a 64-year-old political prisoner, and for the past 34 years he has been falsely imprisoned for the death of 2 FBI agents, even though in his own trial the prosecutor has admitted in court that we can't prove who shot the agents, and I quote, "Whatever happened to prove beyond reasonable doubt. This principle alone is reason enough for him to be free." I want to get the people involved, but I stress to exercise good judgment and learn the case from all angles before they take a stand. There are movies and books about Leonard, but no sign of his plight within society's most influential music, hip-hop. So 4 years ago I started a journey within hip-hop culture, and it has all accumulated with a recent radio, concert, and speaking tour in Los Angeles. I joined up with a friend, Chairman Fred Hampton Jr. of the Prisoners of Conscience Committee, whose father was also a victim of the exact same government agents who were illegally conducting a program called COINTELPRO in the late 60s and 70s.
Black people need some peace. White people need some peace. And we are going to have to fight. We're going to have to struggle. We're going to have to struggle relentlessly to bring about some peace, because the people that we're asking for peace, they're a bunch of megalomaniac warmongers, and they don't even understand what peace means.
When the FBI and the Chicago police came in and in cold blood murdered Fred Hampton Sr., you know what I'm saying, young organizer revolutionary, while he was in bed, drugged by the FBI agents through a counterintelligence program, was drugged and assassinated on December 4th, 1969. We recognize that war that killed Fred Hampton Sr. is still fighting against our people today, from the youngsters to the elders. We say decolonize your mind, free all political prisoners.
Today, showing our solidarity and our love to the revolutionaries out there, such as Leonard Peltier, who was a part of the American Indian movement, a militant revolutionary organization, which members came together to take a stand against the treaty rights that were being neglected by the government for over 500 years, 372 treaties broken by the U.S. government and never honored to this day. And we're taking a stand for that. We're not going to let that struggle, that's a revolutionary struggle, a revolutionary act, to be participating in it. And so we're going to keep that alive on this day.
The same reactionary forces that killed Chairman Fred Hampton Sr. are the same forces that are trying to keep Leonard Peltier locked down right now, and that are oppressing us economically, politically, culturally, everything. So do not let these agents come in the way and overstand. Not everybody can be trusted, but we still can find points of unity and solidarity to colonize, free them all.
I'm Chairman Fred Hampton Jr., the son of Chairman Fred Hampton, who was assassinated by the federal government December 4th, 1969 in Chicago, Illinois. I'm accompanied by my fellow freedom fighter here, Aaron, who's a cousin of Leonard Peltier. Are y'all familiar with those names? Leonard Peltier, Chairman Fred Hampton, y'all familiar with those names? We've been on a tour. We've been on a tour for quite some time, talking about the case of Leonard Peltier and a whole bunch of other political prisoners, such as Mumia Abu-Jamal, Raseel C.Q. McGee, say full nigga back, we say, what's our call? Free them all. So we're gonna try that. What's our call?
Free them all.
What's our call?
Free them all.
Right on.
We may not be back. I might be in jail. I might be anywhere. But when I leave, you can remember I said with the last words on my lips that I am a revolutionary. And you're gonna have to keep on saying that.
Free Leonard Peltier right now.
KPFK Radio 90.7 FM throughout all of Southern California. We're here in studio with special guests. There's a great hip-hop album out for a great cause. Free Leonard Peltier, hip-hop's contribution to the Freedom Campaign. It's a nice compilation album. And in studio we have Aaron, Chairman Fred Hampton Jr., and Ariana here to speak on the album. First of all, thank you all for coming through. I know it's a busy schedule. You guys have a lot of plans this weekend to record for the documentary, to record interviews. But can you break it down real quick, each of you, on what the album is to you guys? I mean, I've listened to the album. I've been familiar with Leonard Peltier's struggle, being a political prisoner, and have read a book or two. But this album looks like a really good you know, idea of bringing hip-hop, the information, the fundraising, the awareness raising. But can you guys put some of your words on what the hip-hop, what this album is to you?
I'm a family member of Leonard Peltier. He's my first cousin. Okay. And I oversaw the whole project and pretty much basically wanted to come with a way to raise awareness in the community about Leonard's false imprisonment and to do it in a way that they can relate to. So, you know, I made a call into tons of community activists and artists all around the world, and the ones that were really, you know, dedicated to what they do and understand the case of Leonard Peltier came and gathered to raise awareness. And it's a benefit album that's going to be, you know, that's on iTunes and is out there for right now for people to pick up.
Nice. So if people go on iTunes specifically, what would they look up? Free Leonard Peltier?
Yes, and that'll come in. We put a hip hop's contribution after that, and then we'll be able to pull that up.
Cool. And you want to speak on that, Chairman Fred Hampton Jr.?
Right on. Let me say first and foremost, revolutionary appreciation. So give us the opportunity to update you on this tactic that we're implementing, as well as the listeners and the people in general. I chair an organization called the POCC, known in many arenas as the Path to Cubs, or the acronym stands for the Prisons of Conscience Committee, and organize it, and we do a number of different issues, ranging from police terrorism to we don't care healthcare adjustment that goes on in the black and of oppressed colonized communities, and also the question surrounding political prisoners. I myself am a former political prisoner. I served a little bit under 9 years in just about every concentration camp in the state of Illinois. And notice I refer to them as prisons or rehabilitative centers. We refer to them for what they are, that being concentration camps. And I was honored and humbled to have my name mentioned amongst the likes of that Leonard Peltier, Abu Jamal, Sekou Dinga, Sunny Adekole, Michelle Security, and this goes on. And the people in general. I came out of those concentration camps with a more intense commitment. In other words, I came out of there, I was not broken. In fact, as Field Marshal George Jackson, the Black Panther Party, said that he refused to be counted amongst the broken men. I didn't come out of there, quote unquote, rehabilitated, because I know the real deal, definition of rehabilitation really is to break the spirit of men, women, and children, similar to with the Native community. When they say they want to civilize them, that really meant to break you. So I refused to be counted amongst that, and I came out of a more intense commitment to reach back for the people who were encountered, and definitely stands amongst those ranks. I was honored, we reached out to, as well as a representative of the POCC to help bring more attention to this case. The stakes are high, and they're becoming more and more higher. In other words, we were very clear that we don't sit back and we don't stand up and continue the word out. We clear with plans the system has for us, forces such as Leonard Peltier. This is a case that the demand for clemency and pardon has brought on a number of different occasions. In fact, former U.S. President Bill Clinton didn't even give a response to the case. You know what I'm saying? They attempted to keep it silent, and our job is to turn the lights on, expose these contradictions, and we're going to use every tool range from in the streets to use this phenomenon such as hip hop. So again, that's basically that's it in a nutshell, or better yet, in a jail cell.
Yeah, right. And Ariana, yourself, what's your outtake on the album, or your involvement in the whole history of what Leonard Peltier is going through?
Well, Aaron reached out to me in the inception of the album and asked if I'd be interested in participating, and it was just hands down yes. His story speaks really strongly to me, and I think that it's so important, it's so wonderful that all these artists came together and just donated their time and their heart for this project. It was just such an absolute honor to be able to share that energy in this project, and I feel like it's time for there to be more attention, to his case. So it feels like a complete yes let's go, you know.
Let's do it.
Yeah, yeah.
That's nice. And the album includes artists such as Tumex, Raka, Tumex being of Visionaries, Raka of Dilated Peoples, Picasso of Living Legends, M1 of Dead Prez, Immortal Technique, Sky Zoo, Talib Kweli. That's just to name a few. That's the artists I know off the top of my head. So again, you can get that album, Free Leonard Peltier, Hip Hop's Contribution to the Freedom Campaign, on iTunes. You can look it up, Google that. And was this something that was planned specifically as a hip hop album, or was it something you thought of creating just a music album in general, and then we'll see what kind of genre, or we'll see what kind of bands or artists will be involved? Or was it from the get-go, from the foundation, realized that I think we want to hit the hip-hop artists, we want to hit the hip-hop market, or, you know, those listeners?
Yeah, well, it basically started with combining two passions, and that's, you know, my love for hip-hop, my love for my cousin Leonard, and combining those two, and then knowing the way in hip-hop you're able to, there's so much information being able to be, you know, listened to by an artist. It's just that sometimes the information that a lot of the artists in the industry put out is really negative and is, you know, retroactive, you know. So we want to be, you know, do something progressive. So combining the message of Leonard Peltier and hip hop, you know, it just sounded like it really made sense, and I didn't really see anyone out there I was waiting for, I thought always in the back of my head it was really something I always wanted to see happen, and I just didn't see anyone else step up, so I just decided to take it upon myself to do that. And I was just, you know, once I started getting feedback and getting support from the artists, it just made it a little bit easier each time to reach out to other artists and to keep going forward. And it took about 4 years, but, you know, it was well worth it, and it's, you know, it was such an honor to do this project.
All right, so it was a 4-year process.
That's right.
4 years altogether to create this album, which again features a lot of different artists. You know, it's produced well, so that's a lot of hard work, and, you know, my, you know, respect to that, and especially for Leonard Peltier, especially for a good cause. And
oh, right on, thank you.
You're welcome. And Chairman, do you work with a lot of hip hop artists, you know, in your line of work, whether it be community organizing, and just, I guess, events, speaking events? Is it often hip hop related?
We use unlimited, you know, amount of tactics, you know, those apparatuses. And we like one of our favorite quotes, that a visionary, Minister U.P. Newton, he said that power is the ability to define phenomena and make it act in a desired manner. Again, power is the ability to define phenomena and make it act in a desired manner. So we approach hip-hop and any other phenomenon in the spirit that, for example, Geronimo, the native community, how he put his ear to the ground and seeing that what was referred to as a ghost dance was phenomenal, and used that as a tool for liberation. We look at examples of Harriet Tubman using the Negro spirits, Reverend Nat Turner using the Negro church. And so to fast forward to today, in this stage in the game, we see it as a tool that can be utilized, and we do understand that the system, the government, what they want to do is to flip the script to incorrectly define the phenomenon, whether it be hip-hop, street organizations, or whatever the case may be, and to make it work in the disinterest of the people. So again, we try to we have with the POCC, we have a tactic known as the code of culture. The code of culture, where we hold people to a concrete commitment. Because other than that, a lot of times people just try to be abstract on what they mean. Well, they did a good song. We understand. We put in concrete, tangible terms, and we understand that there's a war, a literal war being waged on the people, and everyone must play a role. Some case examples how we implement the code of culture is the Dave Chappelle Block Party, where we see the time, see the stage, and came out there and put out different cases of Marshall Conway, say cool thing, or so on and so forth. Kanye West, the statement he made about George Bush in reference to his position to people in New Orleans in response to Hurricane America. Those they call it Hurricane Katrina, but we say PLCC said that Katrina ain't killed nobody, the America did. When Kanye West said the statement about George Bush not liking black people, that was that was a result of a sit down we had with Kanye West 8 hours prior to that. And we're not saying it to be like, bragging, but we're saying that the people can put in the correct context that movements make things happen. The dog wag the tail don't wag the dog.
Fist clinch, y'all. We alive and direct, my man, the motor technique. Y'all know we do this, man. We say what's the call, free them all. And particularly here today, we're in the case of man, too long ahead of political prisoner Leonard Peltier. I know I'm talking too fast, now y'all listen too slow. Man, real quick, man, we're showing solidarity now, brother, out here, brother, motor technique right here, man. So we're showing solidarity, shout for Leonard Peltier.
First and foremost, shout out to all the elders, all the political prisoners. Free them all. That's how we say it. I feel that we're living on occupied land right now. We continuously keep hearing about illegal immigrants and this screaming at individuals who have lived here for thousands of years. We keep seeing Native American, African people being the victims of shameless and disgusting crimes by the state. We keep hearing about it being swept under the rug. And as a community, I think we're all tired of that. As a community, I think we all know that there's an innocent man in prison, and that the federal government specifically targets movements that expose the hypocrisy and the manner in which they take advantage of the public. Nowadays they want to pit private sector against working class. They got people saying, oh, these teachers are the problems, when it's really corporations that have drained the system completely dry. They're trying to cut people's collective bargaining all over the world. They're trying to make it seem like they're humanitarian for offering people life in jail instead of killing them for a crime that they never commit. You're not a humanitarian unless you give the motherfucker back 20-odd years of his life, 30-odd years of his life. Free Mumia, free Leonard Peltier. We're still in the struggle. Mortal technique. We out of here.
We still rolling, we still rumbling, y'all. You know what I'm saying? Non-stop, man. The beat goes on, literally. You know what I'm saying? We say we ain't just singing it, we bringing it, man. Let them know what it is, what it do.
Peace, this is Ikea. I'm representing here with Chairman Fred Hampton Jr., POCC. You know what I'm saying? Free Abu Jamal, Leonard Peltier, and all the other political prisoners out there in the world. I stand in solidarity with everybody who's about justice, freedom, and equality. You know what I mean? Right now, you're seeing a lot of things changing. People getting nervous about 2012, but we've been living in battle zones. We've been living in the war zones for years and years, and our people have been resilient. And every time that you see us come up and try to build a structure inside, you've been trying to demonize it. Now you realize that you're entering the Indian rope. You're putting out these calls for people to respond to you. Well, I need you to understand right now that these people that are around me right now, we making things work because we're not dependent on you. And that's what revolution is about. You know what I'm saying? So listen, to everybody out there, please, 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 communicate. Never ever before, now is the time to communicate. And we need to stand in solidarity with each other about love, more than anything. My name is Ikea. I'm out of here. Peace and respect. Free them all. You know what?
Free Leonard Peltier right now. Free all political prisoners.
The United States government must share in the responsibility for the June 26th firefight. It appeared that the FBI was equally to blame for the shootout, said Judge Gerald Haney, senior judge in the 8th Circuit Court of Appeals, in a letter supporting clemency for Leonard Peltier.
The government spent nearly $1 billion in the military operation on Pine Ridge. And that's $1 billion in 1975 or 1973 dollars. That's probably more than all the money invested in social programs on that reservation from 1870 onward. A people's movement to control the resources and land on the reservations happened to coincide with the energy crisis. In the Black Hills, there were at least a dozen large multinational corporations, energy corporations involved. The government purports to represent the people, but it really represents vested economic interests. The movements that are working for positive social change threaten the interests of the transnational corporations.
This weekend also marked another occasion, the 66th birthday of Native American activist Leonard Peltier. But once again, his birthday came and went without candles and a cake. That's because he's still locked up 3 decades later. So did he commit murder or was he framed by the FBI? Artis Jihan Hafiz has more.
He's a sensitive topic for the FBI. The imprisonment of this Native American man has led a movement that transcends beyond U.S. borders and illustrates a gaping wound still bleeding injustice for America's indigenous population. It's a far cry from justice for Leonard Peltier. The 6-time Nobel Peace Prize nominee spent his 66th birthday in prison, marking over 3 decades since he was convicted of a crime many argue he did not commit.
They had no evidence at all that he killed anybody. And that's in the court records.
It all began here on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation in South Dakota. The FBI's covert war against the militant American Indian movement culminated in the deaths of 2 FBI agents and a Native member of AIM. Although 2 AIM members were acquitted of the shootings on evidence of self-defense, Peltier was extradited back to the U.S. from Canada. The FBI's lead witnesses in the case later recanted their statements, which the FBI used as faulty affidavits and coerced testimonies against Peltier. Regardless of the questionable evidence, Peltier was convicted of 2 life terms in prison. He has been labeled by foreign heads of state, U.S. lawmakers, Hollywood movie moguls, and members of the European Parliament as a political prisoner of the United States.
And Jihan's in the studio to talk with me more about this story. So Jihan, you mentioned in your story that the FBI is kind of waging a covert war against Native Americans. Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Sure. Well, we know of the Pentagon Papers and the WikiLeaks papers, but we don't know too much about the COINTEL papers. Now, COINTELPRO stands for Counterintelligence Program. It was an initiative launched by the FBI in the early 1960s, 1970s against political dissent in this country. The Native American movement, the American Indian movement, was very much a part of that. They were advocating for indigenous rights, for empowerment, and that, of course, meant bad things for the FBI. In fact, it got so serious that the American Indian movement led an armed struggle against the American government that was on air for about 3 months. And, of course, this did not sit well for the FBI. And culminating in that, there were about 66 deaths of AIM members. American Indian movement members were killed. And the FBI did not investigate their killings, but of course there was a shootout, and Peltier was indicted in that case. Till this day, the FBI does not have any actual witnesses that say that Peltier was there at the time of the murder, but for the most part, the COINTELPRO was full intimidation against any kind of radical movement in this country, including AIM.
And so what's the status on things right now? Why should Native Americans today care about this story? Is the American Indian movement still in existence?
Yes, partially in existence. I mean, Leonard Peltier is a very personal thing for the American Indians. For anyone that knows the Native American history, in the early 1900s, the American government had an assimilation program where they took Native American children to boarding schools, took away their language, converted them to Christianity, and gave them different names. Then they had a relocation program where they brought them to the cities, and they were lost in that era.
Yesterday evening, if you were like me, you may have caught a rather interesting collision of worlds on television. Jon Stewart, America's most trusted newsman, appeared on Bill O'Reilly's show to debate one of the country's most pressing issues. Now, it wasn't the economy or the wars or the future of this country. No, the hot topic of that evening was a rapper's appearance at a White House poetry slam. It went a little something like this.
You know, we thought inviting a rapper named Common to a poetry reading at the White House was a big mistake by the administration. That's because Common has openly sympathized with 2 convicted cop killers. But our pal Jon Stewart disagrees with the criticism of Common. So I challenged him last week to a debate, and he answered the call. All right, Stewart, I'm shocked. I am shocked that you don't understand why people like me and millions of other Americans are upset, annoyed, and looking for answers that a guy like Common would be entertained at the White House.
Now who's pettifogging? Now I can't even see you. I hear your pettifog. No, that is exactly the same.
Okay.
Bob Dylan wrote a song about a convicted killer named Hurricane Carter. He's been to the White House. Why are you drawing the line at Common? There is a selective outrage machine here at Fox that pettifogs only when it suits the narrative that suits them.
Okay, it was entertaining. There were some good points raised, despite the fact that the whole thing was clearly orchestrated for entertainment purposes and ratings. But then the discussion took a rather interesting turn. Take a look.
This guy is controversial all day long with this stuff. Not only did he support this cop killer, or celebrate the cop killer, he celebrated another one in Philadelphia.
Again, he's celebrating someone he thinks was unjustly. He's not celebrating.
Is this Perry Nason we're talking about now? Is this the most brilliant lawyer of all time?
Who?
This
Common. Well, let me ask you a question. Are you familiar with Leonard Peltier?
Yes.
Okay. Leonard Peltier was convicted of killing two FBI
All right, now we're going on to Wounded Knee.
It's similar.
Uh-huh.
All right.
No, it's not.
Well, why is it not?
Because you're pettifogging the issue.
It's the exact same thing. It's a guy convicted of killing a law enforcement official. Now, guess who wrote a song about Leonard Peltier?
Yeah.
Bono.
Okay.
Guess where he was? The White House. Booyah!
All right.
That's a rap word.
Leonard Peltier, Mumia Abu-Jamal, names and faces that you might be familiar with if you watch this network.
In the stacks of pardon applications were those of prisoners like Native American activist Leonard Peltier.
It's shameful the way the U.S. government is letting this happen to Leonard.
Peltier was sentenced to 2 life terms in prison for allegedly killing 2 FBI agents, but the initial trial was corrupted. Some argue Peltier's only crime was his political activism.
They had no evidence at all that he killed anybody.
Mumia Abu-Jamal was a member of the Black Liberation Movement. He too was charged for a crime world dignitaries and members of the European Parliament insist he did not commit.
The reason why he's in jail now is because he was framed.
Some argue these convictions are simply the most known cases of a systematic attempt to silence those seen as a threat to the establishment.
Now, it struck me as a little strange that Jon Stewart and Bill O'Reilly, some would say the ideological figureheads of the mainstream left and right, were chatting about Leonard Peltier and Mumia Abu-Jamal, as if these cases were as well known as, say, I don't know, Lindsay Lohan's latest drug problems.
They say he's a radical, he don't fit the game. A heart full of glory and a fist of pain. A couple of battle scars, but shit's the same. Are you not entertained?
Leonard Peltier, hip-hop's contribution to the Freedom Campaign. And speaking on political prisoners, I know you said you were locked up for years, and we have listeners who tune in frequently to the station in general, KPFK, who are locked up. We've gotten handwritten letters and emails and whatnot, but it's something they look forward to, especially being locked up. There ain't much to look forward to, I'd imagine. So are there any words of wisdom, experience, advice that y'all would want to share with some of the people locked up right now?
Definitely, extend a clenched fist, you know what I'm saying, for those who are held captive. The organization that I chair is the Prisoners of Conscience Committee. It is not a prison activist organization. It is a revolutionary organization. However, in the same breath, we recognize that prison is one of the major tentacles of the attacks that's being waged on oppressed communities. And we're very clear that there's no war on drugs, there's no war on guns, there's no war on gangs, there's a war on the community. We also are very clear that what Minister U.E.P. Newton said, that if we don't fight back, if we don't resist, it can be considered nothing less than reactionary suicide. And only, again, many of those forces, whether they be in Folsom, or whether they be in Alabama, whether they be in Cook County jails in Chicago, or the juvenile detention centers, they've heard the commitment. I want to reinforce to restate that commitment, that we will never forget, we never forgive, you know what I'm saying, the system, you know what I'm saying, that has and continues to kidnap the people under such guises or fronts as civilized the natives, slavery, sharecropping, war on gangs, war on guns, war on terror, you name it. We remain very clear that there's war on the people. And we say that whatever differences, we say what the Black Panther Party said, that whatever differences amongst the people are reconcilable. Our differences between the people in the state are irreconcilable. In other words, we know that there are issues that happen in the community, you know what I'm saying, that leads from real, so on and so forth. We deal with those contradictions. We would never forgive a system that, you know what I'm saying, that's committed genocide on the Black and brown and red communities. We never forgive a system that, as we speak, you know what I'm saying, dropping bombs throughout North Africa and throughout the world. You dig? So we talk about gangsters and criminals. We also stress to those who are held captive and to the people in general. Let's be very clear who the real criminals are. Tell forces don't flatter yourselves. We know who the American gangsters are. You know what I'm saying? They're the Frank Rizzos, the Philadelphia, Richard Davis of Chicago, George W. Bush, and so on and so forth, as well as the Obamas, rest of the people that in the White House now. You know, so these are the megalomaniacs, you know what I'm saying, who are implementing, you know what I'm saying, real crimes against, you know what I'm saying, people domestically and internationally. So to those who are held captive, we say, what's our call? Free them all. And we say, well, the people to sort them out. In other words, you heard the U.S. Marines, they say their thing was kill them all, let God sort them out. POCC says free them all, let the people sort them out.
Word up. Free them all. That's
free them all.
And definitely
free them all.
Everybody tuning in who may be locked up, keep your head up, and big appreciation for tuning in. This show, it's kind of for y'all right now. And in the near future, with each of you, once again we're speaking with Aaron, Chairman Fred Hampton Jr. and Ariana. What's in the near future for each of y'all? I know you mentioned there's a volume 2 that you're working on, or going to get started working on, right?
Slowly, put together something and make sure that, we're really being able to bring the information to the people and make sure, it's a quality project. So, yeah, it's in the works. As far as the artists, they're still up in the air as who's going to be on there, but a lot of the artists from the first album will definitely be back. Okay. If not all of them, it's really, I really appreciate everyone's support, and I'm a fan of everyone's music who's on the album, and it's such an honor just to be able to do this, and it's just a dream come true. And I know Leonard recently wrote me a letter to me and the artist, thanking everybody, and had some strategy as far as like how to implement the album and to get the word out about it. So just to know that it reached Leonard, and even though he's not able to listen to it locked up, it really meant a lot to him, and that right there was in itself worth doing. So
yeah, and first volume 1, the album we're talking about right now, that came out in what, 2010?
2010 on Thanksgiving.
Okay, yeah. So it's fairly new. And once again, Free Leonard Peltier, hip hop's contribution to the Freedom Campaign, is the album we're speaking on. Where can people get a hold of you guys, whether it be online or?
If you visit freeleonardalbum.com, that's a website that it's under construction right now, but pretty much that'll be the place to find out about Volume 2 and reach out to me.
freeleonardalbum.com.
freeleonardalbum.com.
Right now, it'll take you straight to purchase it online, so that's how you can get straight to it. But eventually, it'll be updated with, but mainly, please visit www.whoisleonardpeltier.info, and you can buy the album off the website, and that's the website set up for Leonard Peltier's Defense-Offense Committee, which is based out of North Dakota, and that's how you get all the latest updates on the case. And there also is a ton of information on there where you can educate yourself as well. So please visit that website if you get a chance.
Yo, what's up? This is Trilogy from UGK for Life, man. We support all of the different prisons, man. Specifically on the Peltier, man. Free Leonard, man. Heads up out there, man. Keep the drill on the streets, man. Represent like we're supposed to.
Just like Matulu Shakur, just like Mumia Abu-Jamal, Leonard Peltier. Free Mumia, free Leonard Peltier, free Matulu Shakur, free them all.
We don't know who shot those agents. Prosecutor Lynn Crooks in a court of appeals, November 9th, 1992. Leonard Peltier was targeted for neutralization by the FBI years before the firefight. In 1972, 2 off-duty Milwaukee police officers beat Peltier and then had him charged with attempted murder. This occurred after one of the officers had shown a picture of Peltier to his girlfriend and boasted of catching the big one for the FBI. U.S. Court for the District Court of North Dakota, November 1990. Both incidents were entirely consistent with the FBI's COINTEL program, which targeted any individuals or groups with political voices.
Again, the album is Free Leonard Peltier, hip hop's contribution to the Freedom Campaign. You can buy that on iTunes and Amazon, and definitely check out the websites. Get familiar with the struggle and, play your part in the community. I want to thank each of you once again for coming in. That's Aaron, Chairman Fred Hampton Jr., and Ariana. And not just for coming in and being on the radio show, but for your contribution to this album, your continuing contribution to community work and action and activism, and keeping it positive for the seeds, for the youth, because I think that's important too. You got to reach them, or even more specifically our children, and let them continue the struggle and continue the fight So definitely you have our support here, and I'm sure the entire station of KPFK. So when the new album comes out, definitely we'd love to check it and play more songs, get the information out, and anything you guys got going on. So thank you once again for coming through.
And we're out here showing our solidarity for all political prisoners, mainly Leonard Peltier, an innocent man who's been locked up for the last 34 years. We're demanding justice right now for Leonard Peltier. Free Leonard Peltier right now.
Y'all on the call, we say free them all, keep the minds, the names of Rochelle, Cuban, Give me out with you all in the Peltier. You know what I'm saying? The people in general, people out in New Orleans again. So what's the call? Free them all. So Chairman Fred coming to you live and direct. Mr. Fab, so we going coast to coast, and in fact beyond that, when the call out loud and clear, what's the call? Free them all.
Gotta definitely free them all, baby. Believe that. And all you artists out there, start utilizing your voices to raise the awareness of what's going on and the injustices not only in your city, but all across the world. Because our voices mean a lot, and we're a lot of inspiration to a lot of people. If we continue to use our voices artfully, then we can change a lot of things. Society is about what do you implement to change the culture in the days that you live in. As artists, we have that power. Utilize it. Say something worthy of listening.
Real talk. Heads up, eyes open, my man. Before y'all know we do this here, I beat him on the pool table before. That's another story, though.
No, you didn't. You got whooped on. You got whooped on. Trust that.
Man, hey, we've been in San Quentin before. We've been backstage before, man. Brother always show love and respect. I got Clint this salute to him, man. We say, what's our call? Free them all, man.
That's what it is, man. Yeah, I performed in San Quentin, you understand me? Gave a live performance up at that thing, you understand? It was groovy like a drive-in movie. Then, a few weeks later, whoop on this man in some pool.
I'm telling y'all, man. Next time I had that camera, I'll be on that pool table again, man.
There was too much green out there for it. But we at the paid dues, man, right now, you understand me? I'm finna show up and show out. Much love.
Much love, love, respect, man. What's our call? Heads up, eyes open, the fist clench. Y'all know how we do this, man. Chairman Fred come to you again, live and direct. Let our brother just y'all let y'all know who this is. Y'all know what it is.
If y'all don't know, my name is Razkaz, man, and right about now, what we really want to say is free Mumia Abu Jamal.
Yes, indeed. Free Leonard Peltier. We free Rochelle Q McGee. Man, free to move 9. You know what I'm saying? Free C numbers Illinois. In fact, we say, man, make it plain and simple, man. What's the call? Free them all. Now,
free them all.
Y'all to the people. Right on. Yes, indeed.
My love, salute.
That's right, Sick Jack. Homie, what's the call? Free them all, baby. Decided to run for life, man. Repping all the people that are just misrepresented out there and done wrong, homie. You know what I'm saying? Free them all.
Love, EV, evidence, dilated peoples, showing my love and support. You know what I'm saying? Everyone knows the cause and knows what the right thing is, and we're going to push forward to make that happen. Love.
What's the call? Free them all.
What's the call? Free them all.
Classic. Good evening, California. The no more road high in the crown of the metropolis. Shining like who on top of this? People was tussling and arguing and busting Push the land with words and ideas. My ears is brick. Chicken what transmit describes can apply to transcript. Yo. This ain't the time of the usual and suitable. Tonight alive to describe the inscrutable, the indisputable. We New York and all got it. Drink the matter like fiber optics. Where mercenaries get paid to trade hot stockers for profits. Music coming down, shake pockets. Under or something sitting here with working class watches. Skyscrapers, colossus. Who's the living? Preposterous. Stay alive, you pay a die, no option. You back there to rob it. Get there between the cops and the robbers. Two partners, all heartless. With no conscience. Backstreet stay talking. No unbeliever heart stay hardened. My evil turning street shopping. City life stay pumping. You make a way of stay charming. The shitty apple is blue and sweet. You choose to eat. You can lose your teeth. Many crews retreat. Many news repeat. Who got shot down and locked down. Spotlight the savages. Chance that average. Narrative. Those plain this existence. I wish the whole legend remain. Too afraid. Too much on my mind. I just can't recline. That's the holes in the night. So she let sunshine. Breathe in. Bright stars to shine. Breathe in. Smoke retrace the sky. I can't take control. I can feel the city breathing. Trust even against the flesh of the evening. Yeah. Breathing a deep city rush. Sitting on shitty steps, it's too to do low. Help rose tonight the city slept. Peace kept through concrete jungles, communicating with one another and ghetto birds and waters full. From the hydrants to the gutter, feel the beats, walk the beats. What the beats we be making? You on the one side of the track, looking visibly shaking. Taking his punches, plunging to death, taken by the numbers, running the block. Children but Alyssa, baby mother, we're fucking. Play against each other like puppets. Swearing you got pulled, the only pull you got is a wall over your eyes. Getting knowledge in jail like a blessing in the sky. Look at the sky, God, what you see beside the smoke? The dream flying away in the wind. Of the obscene. Lots of people born in the air. Places that you can get murdered over a glare. But everything is fair. Paradox and more reality. So keeping it real will make you a casualty of abnormality. Feeling more naturally right. Now no one always thinks you get like an alien salary. Ladies, ladies, see where you at. Yeah. Alright, let's rock. Yeah. Move with the music one time, Wale. Yeah, you pronounce the name Wale. And the questions that bring many blessings. Will a man high check any from the natty? Lady. Make the sky crash to the fly track. Hands up, put your fists in the air. Wale. Keep them there like natural mystic. And smoke when the slim sling is a revolutionary. 40. They ask me what I'm writing for. Writing to show you what we're fighting for. Shake your labor talent. Wale. If it's hard, try spelling it phonetically or not. Let it be. Don't listen, beat. Even when we suffer losses, I count the victory word. Farm, a dream, jazz and sing. Brain crying a light sunset. Tonight is Saturday. Cause the death is wait. Stop crime is drawn. Your mama is what I had to say. From a little man in my body. Talk the body. Too hot, too shy like the blast. Shorty, it's got to be the man I take quality. Who makes you rock your body? Start to fun and strengthen myself. These words, nothing in my mouth, they hide like a jail cell in a shout. Before my nigga Tony bail me out. To get burned, just to get burned, just to get burned. If you was born in California, you know you fly to wave your hands in the air, you know it again. Now this morning, I woke up, feeling brand new. I jumped up, feeling my heart. Stop smoking, stop drinking, but I've been thinking just to get blood, just to get blood, just to get just to get, just to get, just to get,
Hey yo, Talib Kweli, rocking with Black Star, Most Def, Fred Hampton Jr., free them all.
Most Def, Talib Kweli on the microphone. Hey dudes, Black Star, 6 and chocolate.
Federal Bureau of Investigation teletype dated October 2nd, 1975, indicating that FBI ballistics expert Evan Hodge had performed a firing pin test on the Wichita AR-15 claimed by the government to have been Leonard Peltier's, immediately after he received it and compared it to the cartridges found at the scene. Contrary to his trial testimony that the test was inconclusive, this memo conclusively stated that the rifle contained a different firing pin from the weapon used at the firefight. This evidence was withheld from the defense and only discovered years after the trial with the release of the documents via the Freedom of Information Act.
Man, we just stood out here, man, put out this case, you know what I'm saying, state to state, coast to coast, you know what I'm saying, from the press on the street for the cases, you know, Leonard Peltier, Sunday out, and again, the people in general, you know, stay consistent with it, you know, tied in every phenomenon, whether it be streets, hip-hop, poetry, you name it, you know what I'm saying, the sky's the limit, you know, that's about it. Just earlier, the stakes is high, you know what I'm saying, it's an old saying they get inside them camps, you know, a lot of people call it penitentiary, we call them the concentration camps, ain't no guaranteed out date, you know what I'm saying, so a lot of people just be valued. Hey, well, man, it's a cliche term we be saying free, you know what I'm saying, free no meal, free Leonard Peltier, or free, say, cool ding or something. No, it's real deal action. They subject to some tangible, concrete attacks, and we had some concrete, tangible
Definitely. Yeah, with Leonard Peltier, you know, with this case, we got to just make the facts about the case just you know, common knowledge amongst the people, so that when we organize and really get the word out here for Leonard, you know, we have our facts and we have the, you know, the core arguments together, so that, each one of us can carry the message as best as possible to reach other people. With 19 constitutional violations in Leonard's case, it was just clearly indicated he didn't get a fair trial. So that's just something everyone can understand real easy. So just keeping it out there, and raising awareness anyway. Definitely. With rallies, marches, just keeping the word alive for Leonard Peltier, because his health isn't doing too well. He may have prostate cancer right now, so just banding together, and staying strong. We got to do that for Leonard, because he really needs it right now. And free Leonard Peltier right now.
Definitely. I mean, I would always rather do a benefit than a memorial. You know what I mean? So, right now, while the brother is here, we need to make sure he gets as much light on his case as possible. I mean, it's a universal. Truth is universal. Truth is timeless. And if people really understood that, this is a soldier, regardless of skin color, regardless of cultural background, that's fighting for the good of humanity, for the good of man, for everybody to progress forward, and for the wickedness and iniquities to be pushed away for all people, I think that other people should join in the cause and celebrate this mission to right these wrongs. It's a universal cause. I mean, regardless of what organization you associate yourself with at any time, COINTELPRO was on you. You know what I mean? The people with the same light, the same microscope, the same sniper was aimed right at you. And they looked at us all as the same way anyway, so we might as well look at each other as the same and come together and right this wrong and fight this cause, man. Free Leonard Peltier. And not only free Leonard Peltier, but let's bring light to the wickedness that caused the situation in the first place, man.
No doubt, free Leonard Peltier.
I want to comment on that real quick. As Will said, what you just point out, you rather do a benefit than a memorial. Because a lot of times people wait to become like a safe issue to talk about. After the forces alone, after they're dead or something. Right. Talk about some sort of nostalgia, abstract type of stuff. Exactly. That's a key point. You know what I'm saying? We get a season time right now. We can't afford the luxury for people to wait to become quote-unquote safe to talk about, say, man, yeah, I knew them since I want to talk about it now. Man, we very clear that they get the telescope on them right now. Yeah. And in reality, they get all of us on death row one way or another. You know what I'm saying? And they kill us one way or another. Exactly. So let's put a campaign out there, the case out there, keep on the streets, keep it hot. You say, man, free Peltier, in fact, see what's our call, free them all.
I mean, we already together anyway, man, because they already put the people that are awake in one little pile anyway, and they don't want us waking the rest of the people up anyway. They want they want us to keep hitting the snooze button, if anything, man. So we gotta do what we gotta do right now. Like the brothers were just saying, man, free Leonard Peltier, free all political prisoners, all people fighting the righteous cause for the benefit of all of us. They already have us grouped together anyway as a problem, but we actually that group that we in is really the solution, man. We gotta come together and make this right. That's what it is.
No doubt. We gotta, the time is right now to free Leonard Peltier. We have to build on a solid foundation, build a structure, and that starts with the education. Reading the books like In the Spirit of Crazy Horse by Peter Mathiasson, Prison Writings by Leonard Peltier, Agents of Repression, and just staying informed, signing up for the email updates. If you seeing us out here, we're out here, to really make a message to the public and make a statement that Leonard Peltier is an innocent man and he needs to be released right now. So please join with us and educate yourself, and please stay out there and stick this one out for Leonard. It's not over yet. The people have the power, so let's really utilize it and free Leonard Peltier right now.
We're going to make sure we keep these cases of political prisoners fresh in our heart. Also, some pressing case going down, international case of Troy Davis. Y'all everybody hear about Troy Davis? They talking about executing him September 21st, y'all, to a matter of days. I'm not talking about no years from now. It's pressing right now. Type these names in, Google them, see how you can sign the petition, put the word out. We want the petition to be free Troy Davis, free Lil Bunchy, free Leonard Peltier, free Rochelle Security Bank. We say, what's our call? Free them all. What's our call? Free them all. Power to the people, y'all. So I'm tag team, let's pass it to my fellow freedom fighters so you can get some updates from the pressing case of Leonard Peltier, who is one of the longest held political prisoners in this country, and why the government got him locked up. Man, on that skateboard, I need y'all attention. Hey, excuse me, partners. Hey, my man, all due respect in the words of Tupac, ain't got a bump, but please respect it. Give me a few seconds of time, real talk. We talking, they trying to kill Troy Davis. So it's real talk, let's see his business, man. Troy Davis. They trying to execute him September 2nd. Type him in, man. Real, let's see it. We talking people's lives here, man. Real talk.
Right on, free them all.
ordinary circumstances, y'all, I would ask for a moment of silence. But in this situation, y'all, you want a moment of noise. You want the state of Georgia, you want California, you want LA, you want Africa and Attica to hear us real loud and clear. With a long live Troy Davis, y'all. Long live Troy Davis. Let me hear real, shake the ground of Cook County Jail. Shake the ground of Folsom. Shake the ground of Attica. Long live Troy Davis. Let me hear real loud. Long live Troy Davis. They can't hear you in Cook County Jail, y'all. Let me hear it again. Long live Troy Davis. They can't hear you in Stateville Penitentiary. Let me hear it again. Long live Troy Davis. They can't hear you in Folsom. They can't hear you, man. They can't hear you in Angola, in Africa. Let me hear it again. Long live Troy Davis. Right on, y'all. It's like a boxing match. We're gonna go in the corner, get our water, and come on back. Keep on swinging for Sunday out of Angola. Keep on swinging for St. Kuo Digger. Keep on swinging for Mumia Abu Jamal. What's our call? Free them all. What's the goal? Free them all. What's the goal? Free them all. What's the goal? Free them all. Powers, people, y'all. Do we got love for most Devin Talib Kweli? Yeah. I can't hear y'all. Do we got do Chicago? We got love for most Devin Talib Kweli? That's what I'm talking about. Love for the Chairman. Shout out to the Chairman.
Thank you for joining us on this campaign to raise awareness for Leonard Peltier. Much respect to all the elders and those that have gone on to the spirit world. This project is also dedicated to my cousin Steve Robidoux, the founder of Leonard Peltier's Defense Committee in 1979. Let us leave you with some vital information from Steve during an interview in 1982.
Dealing with a fourth victim in which the government had to have a scapegoat because of the diversionary tactic that they created to discredit our people through the media to get away with the acts of what they're now doing today, and that's exploiting the resources from our land. I think many people always ask, well, why did the shootout happen? What was going on? But people just don't know that during that very same time period, Richard Wilson, who was then the acting tribal chairman, was in Washington, D.C., signing away 1/8 of the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation, the Black Hills of South Dakota, which is 133,000 acres of land and valued at billions of dollars of uranium deposits that are being strip mined out of there by over 40 corporations today.
Hold it close to me, means most to me. Get the message without any post, homie. Follow your nose only. Truth is the essence of itself. It's already in your lungs. That's the healer's kind of help. Gon' have to let me go, but first I need to tell you though, you never really had me. Folks just thought you did. You and me, bro. Convinced, confused, I'm sense amused, invincible like am is new. Sometimes I sing the blues, but views get that way. Clues I am. Let go.
Because if people wanted to do something, they wanted to retire to being spit on, being discriminated against. They wanted to rise up. A number of us worked closely with them. I personally worked closely with the Black Panthers Party chapters out of Seattle, Washington, Portland, Oregon. They're the ones that really came out and started showing us how to organize successfully. These were some very intelligent, legitimate, and kind and generous people.
Leonard Peltier, Chairman Fred Hampton, those names. You've been on the tour. You've been on the tour for quite some time. Took yourself the case of Leonard Peltier and a whole bunch of other political prisoners such as Mumia Abu Jamal, Rochelle C.Q. McGee, Say cool nigga back, we say what's our call? Free them all. So we're gonna try that. What's our call?
Bring them all.
What's our call?
Bring them all.
Right on.
We might not be back. I might be in jail. I might be anywhere. But when I leave, you can remember I said with the last words on my lips that I am a revolutionary. And you're gonna have to keep on saying that.
Free Leonard Peltier right now.
KPFK Radio 90.7 FM throughout all of Southern California. We're here in studio with special guests. There's a great hip-hop album out for a great cause. Free Leonard Peltier, hip-hop's contribution to the Freedom Campaign. It's a nice compilation album. And in studio we have Aaron, Chairman Fred Hampton Jr., and Ariana here to speak on the album. First of all, thank you all for coming through. I know it's a busy schedule. You guys have a lot of...
As the day-to-day struggle continues to gain freedom for a family member who has been in prison since before I was born, getting the truth to be told and raising awareness is very crucial in these times. My cousin's name is Leonard Peltier. He's a 64-year-old political prisoner, and for the past 34 years he has been falsely imprisoned for the death of 2 FBI agents, even though in his own trial the prosecutor has admitted in court that we can't prove who shot the agents, and I quote, "Whatever happened to prove beyond reasonable doubt. This principle alone is reason enough for him to be free. I want to get the people involved, but I stress to exercise good judgment and learn the case from all angles before they take a stand. There were movies and books about Leonard, but no sign of his plight within society's most influential music, hip-hop. So 4 years ago I started a journey within hip-hop culture, and it has all accumulated with a recent radio, concert, and speaking tour in Los Angeles. I joined up with a friend, Chairman Fred Hampton Jr. of the Prisoners of Conscience Committee, whose father was also a victim of the exact same government agents who were illegally conducting a program called COINTELPRO in the late 60s and 70s.
Black people need some peace. White people need some peace. And we are going to have to fight. We're going to have to struggle. We're going to have to struggle relentlessly to bring about some peace, because the people that we're asking for peace, they're a bunch of megalomaniac warmongers, and they don't even understand what peace means.
Plans this weekend to record for the documentary, to record interviews. But can you break it down real quick, each of you, on what the album is to you guys? I mean, I've listened to the album. I've been familiar with Leonard Peltier's struggle, being a political prisoner, and have read a book or two. But this album looks like a really good, idea, bringing hip-hop, the information, the fundraising, the awareness raising. But can you guys put some of your words on what the what this album is to you?
I'm a family member of Leonard Peltier. He's my first cousin. Okay. And I oversaw the whole project and pretty much basically wanted to come with a way to raise awareness in the community about Leonard's false imprisonment and to do it in a way that they can relate to. So, I made a call into tons of community activists and artists all around the world, and the ones that were really, dedicated to what they do and understand the case of Leonard Peltier came and gathered to raise awareness. And it's a benefit album that's going to be, that's on iTunes and is out there for right now for people to pick out.
Nice. So if people go on iTunes specifically, what would they look up? Free Leonard Peltier?
Yes, and that'll come in. Put a hip-hop's contribution after that, and then pull that.
When the FBI and the Chicago police came in cold blood murdered Fred Hampton Sr., young organizer, revolutionary, while he was in bed, drugged by the FBI agents through the counterintelligence program, was drugged and assassinated on December 4th, 1969. We recognize that war that killed Fred Hampton Sr. is still fighting against our people today, from the youngsters to the elders. We say decolonize your mind, free all political prisoners.
Today, showing our solidarity and our love to the revolutionaries out there, such as Leonard Peltier, who was a part of an American Indian movement, a militant revolutionary organization, who which members came together to take a stand against the treaty rights that were being neglected by the government for over 500 years, 372 treaties broken by the U.S. government and never honored to this day. And we're taking a stand for that. We're not going to let that struggle, that's a revolutionary struggle, the Revolutionary Act, to be participating in it. And so we're going to keep that alive on this day.
The same reactionary forces that killed Chairman Fred Hampton Sr. are the same forces that are trying to keep Leonard Peltier locked down right now, and that are oppressing us economically, politically, culturally, everything. So do not let these agents come in the way and overstand. Not everybody can be trusted, but we still can find points of unity and solidarity to colonize, free them all.
I'm Chairman Fred Hampton Jr., the son of Chairman Fred Hampton, who was assassinated by the federal government December 4th, 1969 in Chicago, Illinois. I'm accompanied by my fellow freedom fighter here, Aaron, who's a cousin of Leonard Peltier. Are y'all familiar with those?
Cool. And you want to speak on that, Chairman Fred Hampton Jr.?
Right on. Let me say, first and foremost, revolutionary appreciation. So give us the opportunity to update you on this tactic that we're implementing, as well as the listeners and the people in general. I chair an organization called the POCC, known in many arenas as the Path to Cubs, or the acronym stands for the Prisons of Conscience Committee, and organize it, and we do a number of different issues, ranging from police terrorism to we don't care healthcare, that goes on in blacking of oppressed colonized communities, and also the question surrounding political prisoners. I myself am a former political prisoner. I served a little bit under 9 years. Just about every concentration camp in the state of Illinois, and notice I refer to them as prisons or rehabilitative centers. We refer to them for what they are, that being concentration camps. And I was honored and humbled to have my name mentioned amongst the likes of that Leonard Peltier, Leon Jamal, Sekou Dinga, Sonny Adekole, Michelle Security, and this goes on. And the people in general. I came out of those concentration camps with a more intense commitment. In other words, I came out of there, I was not broken. In fact, as Field Marshal George Jackson, the Black Panther Party, said that he refused to be counted amongst the broken men. I didn't come out of there, quote unquote, rehabilitated, because I know the real deal definition of rehabilitation really is to break the